Hey, everybody, good to be back with you today. And we're always glad to be here with you for the Sunday Hope and Healing session. And we're sending out peace and love in your direction. Yeah, we need some peace in the world and in our lives. We need some love in the world and in our lives. So we're sending that out to you from my heart to yours, from the heart of God to yours. More than just from my heart to yours, but from the heart of God to yours. Sending out love in your direction, praying and trusting that it's reaching you in the way that you need it to reach you, making a difference in a way that will impact your life favorably, right? That's what the goal is, right? You wouldn't be here for this Sunday Hope and Healing session if you didn't have a desire for your life to be favorably impacted in some way. And so I'm thankful for the opportunity to be able to be here and to offer some things that hopefully will support you, or that you'll be able to then take and use to support yourself in your decision to be a happy, well-adjusted, fulfilled human being during your time as a spiritual being hanging out in the earth realm. Okay. And so to whomever is here, to each and all who are here today, we welcome you, and we give great thanks for you, for your presence, for your life, and for the blessings that are unfolding in it. Okay. All right. And so I'm wearing this t-shirt. It isn't initially what I planned on wearing, especially streaming from home. At one juncture, I thought I would maybe be streaming from the beach. But I'm wearing this t-shirt. It's hard to see the whole thing. It's like representative of the tree of life. See the double helix of the DNA, and then as you go further down on the t-shirt, there are roots digging into the earth. And our intention is that while we are on this earth, that we are walking in a way where we are reaching up towards the heavens, reaching up towards the cosmos, where we are actually allowing our consciousness to be divinely focused, where we're allowing our thought processes to be infused with more elevated thoughts, okay, that we're drawing from inspiration that comes from on high, and that we, in our earthly experience, are still connected to the earth. Shout out to Dr. Fabu and to Transforming Love Community, who is officially 28 years old today. Shout out to Reverend Shahir over there, and everybody who's part of the Transforming Love Community. And Dr. Fabu was speaking on this idea of being in the world but not of it. And our goal, our wonderful opportunity that we have before us is actually to walk in the earth realm on our divine assignment, flowing in a sense of spiritual inspiration, and yet rooted and grounded in the earth realm, so that we're not so heavenly focused that we're not doing any earthly good. And so we live in a world today, right now, on the 19th of October, 2025, where there does seem to be a lot of chaos and stuff going on, right? Last week, for last Sunday's Sunday Hope and Healing session, some of you were there when I spoke at Transforming Love Community on the topic of resist the temptation to lower your vibration. There were 12 different things that I spoke to that can threaten to lower our vibration or tempt us to lower our vibration. And last week's Sunday Hope and Healing session, we actually did healing to address, because there are 12 different things, there was only so much time we were able to dedicate to each one. But I have to be completely forthright with you in sharing that I was surprised at the significance with which these different blockages and things were showing up while I was in the process of doing the healing during last week's Sunday Hope and Healing session. I was sharing in the conversation that, you know, I can do 15 healings and not get find the kind of breaks that I was finding over and over and over again last Sunday during last Sunday's Hope and Healing session, because there were some really significant things going on there that I believe warrant breaking down further. And so one of those things that we were addressing last week in terms of one of the things that threatens to lower our vibration is we're endeavoring to elevate our vibration, was continuous focus on placing continuous focus on all the bad stuff that's happening in the world, right? And so that kind of brings us to our focal point for today, which is I didn't actually create a banner for it. And I didn't realize that I didn't until just now, because I had intended to, but apparently not. So here it is. Our focus for today is how to keep our vibe up when there's chaos all over. When there's chaos in the external world around us. Sometimes the chaos is intentionally created chaos going on in the world. And I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time talking about current events, because the truth of the matter is that 10 years from now, there will still be relevance in what's happening today, what it is that we're doing in this broadcast of this Sunday Hope and Healing session, dealing with how to keep your vibe up, how to maintain and even elevate your vibe when there's chaos all over the place. And actually, something that comes to mind is actually my favorite poem called If by a gentleman by the name of Rudyard Kipling. You might be familiar with Rudyard, well, maybe you are, and maybe you aren't familiar with Rudyard Kipling himself, but you're likely familiar with what's probably his most famous work, and that's A Jungle Book. Rudyard Kipling is the gentleman who wrote A Jungle Book. Greetings, Curly Conscious King. Good to see you, brother. And he also wrote a poem called If, which happens to be my favorite poem. It's a 32-line poem that starts off, if you can keep your head when all about you are losing theirs, and blame it on you. Okay. If you can keep your head when all about you are losing theirs and blame it on you. That's speaking somewhat to what we're dealing with today in terms of our focal point for the Sunday Hope and Healing session. But in a world where there's so much going on, where there's chaos and there's frustration, thank you, brother, appreciate that, where there's chaos and people are concerned about the economy, people are concerned about their security, you know, people are concerned about where they can, large segments of society are concerned with where they can go without being in danger of being picked up. And again, I don't want to get into all of those particulars and so forth. You know, we got a government shutdown that's happening in the US right now. There's a lot that's going on. And then we're continuously bombarded with information via the news outlets, social media, and all of this. And this focusing on these things and getting caught up in these things can certainly threaten to lower our vibration. Okay. What is it to have a low vibration? To have a low vibration is what it is to be stuck. To have a low vibration is what it is to be, you know, down and out. To be vibrating in a lower vibration is where depression hangs out, and where sickness and dis-ease hang out. It's where anxiety hangs out. It's where all of the things that really don't help you feel closer to your truest self, closest to God. It's where all of those things hang out. Okay. All right. Now, what is it in terms of high vibrational energy? That's where love resides. That's where peace resides. That's where truth resides. That's where awareness of the good unfolding resides, right? That's where enlightenment resides. That's where well-being resides. That is how you were divinely designed to reside, in a state of a higher vibration, right? And so as we get ready to get into this topic, or as we get into this topic about how to maintain your vibe, even when there's chaos all over and there's the bombardment of the information that is maybe fear-mongering in a lot of ways, and there's a lot going on that could threaten to lower your vibration, and is maybe in your pathway as opportunities for you to either take and jump all over, to put yourself in a position to where you're feeling down and out, where you're feeling continuous frustration, and your cortisol levels and adrenaline levels are up, where your heart rate is elevated even when you're not moving. Do you know that if you think you're running from a tiger, but you're actually sitting still or standing still, that your blood coagulates 8 times faster than if you were actually running from that same tiger, or if you were actually running from a tiger or running from some physical danger, because your body works out that increased in hormonal flow flooding your system is to give you energy to either fight or flee. But if you're not actually moving that energy, then it causes a lot of things to happen within your body physiologically that are not good for your body temple. Okay. Like I said, it'll cause the blood to coagulate and within your system a whole lot more quickly, which is not really good for your system. It's what ends up leading to heart disease and hypertension and things of that nature. Anyway, I didn't plan on going too far down any rabbit hole where that's concerned. What really this is about is giving a little bit more focused healing attention, specifically geared towards empowering us to be able to keep our vibe up, maintain our vibe, and even elevate our vibe in the midst of the different chaotic things that are going on. Now, before we actually start with the healing thing, there is something that I think is very important for me to say, and that I really want you to be able to hear loud and clear. You have a body, but you're so much more than your body. You are a soul. You are a brave soul. If you are living on earth at such a time as this, then you are a brave soul who came here on assignment to experience something that would maybe appear to be something very different than the love and the peace and the power of God manifesting in the earth realm, right? We look and we see a lot of, like I said, what can be easily just summed up as chaos and confusion, right? But chaos and confusion aren't what you are. Your essence is pure love and divine light. And if you are on the earth at this particular point in human history, it's because you are the type of powerful and brave soul that willingly came into this particular timeline on planet Earth were the particular type of things that would be going on, that have been going on and are going on. For you to be able to come and step into this type of illusion, and to be able to see the truth beyond the illusion. Let me put that a little bit differently. Or you can come into an environment where there is very strong evidence that appears very real, that puts you in a justifiable state of dwelling in a state of fear. And to be able to look at all of this evidence that appears very, very real, and to be able to recognize it as being false, to be able to see through it. And in the process of seeing through it, be able to see beyond it, see to the other side of it, and see the divine truth that is always there. And that is almost like a high level of a game that you're playing, like on an advanced level of a game that you're playing, to be able to see beyond the confusion and the chaos and the fear, the false evidence appearing real, and to be able to see the truth beyond it, to be able to pierce the veil, and to be able to, in the midst of what is going on, to be able to see a greater peace, a greater truth. And as Aretha Franklin said, a deeper love. To be able to find a deeper love, operate in that space of deeper love, even though there are all of these things that would seemingly seek to take you out of that vibration, right? Okay. Here's the thing. In terms, I'll share a few words and then we'll get into the healing. A way that on a very high level that you can not only maintain, but elevate your vibe, elevate your vibration, even in the midst of planetary or national chaos, is to question the chaos that is being presented. Not to act like it doesn't exist, like in a form of negative denial, burying your head in the sand. That's not what I'm talking about at all. I'm talking about looking straight at it, seeing it for what it is, and then calling that out, but not calling it out on a low level, not looking at what you perceive to be lies and just saying that these are lies and calling out those lies as lies and saying these people, the government, multinational corporations, you know, the systems of this world, you know, are lying to us and all that. I mean, that's just a beginning step, right? That's still a lower level step. Another level step is to be able to see that, to be able to recognize all of that is going on. And then beyond that, to be able to question the realness of what is appearing as that reality. Not from a standpoint of negative denial, but a standpoint of positive denial. What is positive denial? Positive denial is saying this is what the situation very clearly appears to be. You may even say this is what the situation is. Call a spade a spade. This is what the situation is. And then include your transitional term. But, there's a truth greater than the truth that I'm seeing right now. There's a truth greater than the truth I'm seeing right now. You could, if you have a hard time making it as a completely affirmative statement, you can do it as a question. What if there's a greater truth than the truth I'm seeing right now? What if no matter what things actually look and seem like, what if God really is in charge? Not a punitive, vengeful God, but a God of love that is always everywhere equally present. The source of pure love and divine light that is loving me with a purity that I can't really, in my limited thinking, quite grasp or understand. That is always seeking to bless me with opportunities to experience myself as the truth of who I really am, as an expression of that pure love and divine light, as a divine being operating in the earth realm with power to overcome any obstacle, with power to transform situations, with power to see the truth beyond the noise, with power to look beyond what things look like on the outside, and to be able to create with one's own mind a different reality. Not from the standpoint of just being delusional or out of touch with the reality, but rather being of the perspective and of the awareness, of the acute awareness that there is a greater reality beyond the one that is showing on the movie screen of the third dimensional matrix of separation and limitation, and all the various aspects and ways in which it takes form, right? Okay. And so to put this in terms that we might be able to use in terms of some practical application, to be able to see what happens on the news or what's being reported on the news, what's going on in various parts of the world, and to be able to speak to it, not from a position of fear, not from a position of anxiety, not from a position of worry, not from a position of doubt or hostility or any of those things, but from a perspective of being able to look at it and see, this seems really real. But there's a part of me that on some level believes that there's something much more beautiful that's going on right now. And to be able to just to entertain the possibility that there's a part of you that recognizes that there could be something more beautiful, something grander going on right now in the midst of what seems like this total chaos and confusion. I think about December 7th, 2003 in Beaumont Hospital in Royal Oak, Michigan. There were a couple songs playing from the Broadway production of The Lion King. Two songs that were looping. One, He Lives in You, and the other one, They Live in You, which is essentially the same song, one from a female vocalist, one from a male vocalist, one referring to the ancestors, the other referring to God. But other than that, the songs are essentially the same. And these songs were playing continuously over and over and over and over again for hours as my sister was in the process of giving birth to my oldest nephew. Shout out to Donovan and to Lexi. She was continuously pushing. It seemed like it was going on forever and ever and ever. I was in the room. It seemed like it was going on forever and ever and ever and ever. And the time came where he was definitely ready. And there was all of this chaos going on. There were a lot of people that rushed into the room. And, there's a lot of talking. A lot of the talking was loud because my nephew had gotten stuck in the birth canal and everything. And there was this one doctor who clearly was in charge, who had this profound sense of composure. His energy was very steady and grounded and peaceful in the midst of all of this chaos and confusion. And he was directing people on exactly what to do. And he wasn't talking. Everybody else was talking loud, but he wasn't talking loud. Somehow, in the midst of all of the chaos and confusion, everybody was able to hear him. Everybody was able to hear him quickly and to heed to what it was that he was saying to do. And my nephew, beautiful soul that he is, ended up being born on that day, December 7th, 2003, in the same hospital that I and my brother were actually born in. But there was a peace and a composure that this doctor maintained, and that still resonates in my soul to this day, about the peace that he was in the midst of all of this chaos. And we as spiritual beings, that to me is a perfect illustration of what we're called to be as spiritual beings, living in this earth realm. In this time, in this series of events that are taking place in the earth, it's an opportunity for us to be able to demonstrate our spiritual mastery, for us to be able to demonstrate who it is that we really are as spiritual beings. And I'm not saying that we just have these pie in the sky thoughts and attitudes. Yes, sometimes we need to engage in certain actions, appropriate actions in the earth realm, but it's a difference between doing it from a place of peace versus doing it from a place of chaos internally. Because if we're doing it from a place of chaos internally, then all we're doing is adding more chaos to the external chaos. But if we can actually direct all of the forces within ourselves, like that doctor was, all of the other people who were in the room, contributing to the process of my nephew being born, if we can, from a place of calm and stillness, a place of divine knowing, that we're guided, that we're protected, that we're covered, and somehow remember that no matter what things look like song I used to sing in Sunday school, God's got the whole world. Whole world is in the palm of God's hand. No matter what things might look like or seem like in a moment. From up close, in the midst of a moment, things seem utterly chaotic. But there's something beautiful going on in the background that we might not have had eyes to see in the past. And so we're going to do a healing now to help strengthen us to be able to not only maintain our vibe in the midst of there being chaos all over in the world, but to even be able to elevate it in the midst of it. I don't know why this is coming up right now, but somebody had posted on social media a question. And the question said, it was a woman that posted the question. And for whatever reason, I felt led to put a response. But the question said, what's the quickest way to to calm a woman down who's feeling very angry or something to that effect. I can tell you it's definitely not tell her to calm down. That will not work. I can guarantee you of that. But what my response was is be a rock. Be a rock. Approach her from a position of steady, confident groundedness. And you being in that state will help to bring that other person to that state. Right? It's like a tuning fork. All right. And in a similar way, how we bring peace to a world that seems to be in chaos is by tapping to it within ourselves and then showing up as that. We're able to bring peace to those in our world and ultimately peace to the world as a whole. Right? So let's go ahead and start this with a prayer and focus into the healing. Most divine source of all good, all light, all life, all love, all peace, all power, whom we generically call God. I know you to be a healer. You are the healer. There's nothing beyond your healing power, and I'm thankful that in this moment that I get to be able to serve as a representative, as a catalyst of your healing. On the behalf of, state your name if you'd like to participate in receiving this healing, whether silently or out loud, or the name of anyone who you want to be able to benefit from this healing, and or the name of anyone you want to be able to benefit from this healing. For the purpose of neutralizing the root cause of our attachment to the chaos and confusion that is going on all over in our individual world and the world, the greater world around us. From the point of the root cause and the entire energy field of every strand of DNA and each one of our bodies, and transmuting it into and replacing it with being able to operate from a very high vibrational state, authentically operate from a place of high vibratory rate where we're dwelling in peace and in power, and where we're able to see a greater truth that supports our vision of a peaceful and loving and harmonious reality, not only in ourselves, but in the greater world around us, the greater world in which we live. And I bear witness to our wholeness on this date and in this time and space called now. Thank you. Thank you for this gift of your divine love. It is done. It is done. It is done. All right. Okay, so let's get into this now. So one of the things that can actually would seek to stand in the way between us being there and that actually being our divine reality is our attachment, to our own inner drama king or drama queen. Okay, so let's tone down that attachment to our own inner drama queen or drama king. Right. We tend to focus our attention based on where it is that we're operating vibrationally. So, and then it creates this feedback loop. And we get to choose whether we're going to be caught up in a positive feedback loop or a negative feedback loop. And whether, and I say positive or negative kind of generically. So either way, it's kind of self-sustaining. All right. So what the difference is how our energy is focused in the moment, whether we're focused in a way that's actually helping to give further life or not. Okay. To ourselves and to the purpose for which we came into the earth. All right. So let's kind of break down what actually has us kind of addicted to the drama. Okay. And one of the things that kind of has us addicted to the drama is the rush that we get in the context of the drama that we're observing and that we're participating in, especially when we're participating in it. Sometimes the way that we participate in it is by just kind of feeding into it with our conversation about it. If the conversation that we're having about it is coming from a more of a fear-based state. So we want to kind of weaken that fear-based state within our own minds, within our own consciousness, and within our own hearts, especially within our own hearts. Be mindful of what's going on in your heart, because it essentially rules everything else that's going on in your life. Okay. All right, so let's look at the history of divisiveness. All right. More specifically, our attachment to a perception of history of divisiveness. Let's weaken within us our attachment to the perception of a history of divisiveness. I use that language very, very specifically and intentionally. Right? Okay, so I want to take a moment and strengthen us to actually be able to have an openness to a different reality going forward. Openness to a different reality going forward, rather than taking that pain and that fear from the past and bringing that into our current focal point. Actually, instead of that, creating a new focal point in this present moment, even if we have to travel to a future point to be able to see it as a reality there. Okay, so to be able to see a new level of possibility, of good, of peace, of well-being, even if it's at some point in the future, whatever point in the future that is, experience it there, that point in the future, but experience it in the present, if that makes sense. As if you're remembering the moment that you became aware of it. Okay. All right. So let's actually strengthen us to be able to have a steadfast vigilance in seeking to find God. And endeavoring to find God, and actually in finding God. Finding God at work in the midst of the chaos and confusion that's going on all over the place, in the world, in the media, in politics. Okay. And I don't mean your side winning and the other side losing, you know. in that spirit of divisiveness, but in terms of seeing. There's a movie called Crimson Tide, starring Denzel Washington and Gene Hackman. And there's a point where Denzel Washington's character says that in war, nobody wins. Neither side wins. War itself wins. What we want is, and this is Roy speaking now, is for peace to win. Okay. Let love win. Let peace win. Let harmony win. Okay. And strengthen us to be able to operate in the vibration of the future desired state of love that we want to see the world operating in. To be able to operate now as if we were currently dwelling in a golden age of enlightenment and well-being, where God's kingdom has come and God's will is done on earth as it is in heaven. Okay, to be able to tap into that. Okay. Now that, to some degree, requires an ability to focus. And maybe we have been focused, but we've been focused on what's actually lowering our vibration. We've been focused in a way that's been feeding into what it is that we don't want to see manifested in the world. So to strengthen our focal, not just strengthen our focal abilities, but strengthen our resolve in focusing on the greatest possible good. To be able to focus on seeing victory fulfilled in the context of peace winning, harmony winning, love winning inside of you and inside the earth and the world as a whole. Strengthen us all for that, boost that up in all of us. Okay. Now let's go ahead and get ancestral here, because there's been some stuff that our ancestors had been subject to and fed into. And we want to be able to overcome for ourselves as well as for them as well as ourselves, the unresolved things that had them in a state of fear and chaos, and feeding into the systems of fear through their own fear-based thinking. I'm not saying this is condemnation. I'm saying this is us standing in a place of empowerment, of being able to overcome on behalf of ourselves and those who came before us what has been previously endured. Thank you, God. All right. All right. Now, in that, let's look at even more specifically let's look at those who in our ancestral lineage created some level of karma, negative karma, and cleansing that negative karma from the record. Look at real karma. Yeah, there's some real karma there. Just imagine. Okay. All right. Still working on addressing and clearing these karma. And really taking ownership, as well as, sending this karma and as well as karmic residue to the light of God's love, to be transformed, transmuted, and purified into higher octaves of understanding and compassion. Okay, thank you, God. All right. And I want to actually look at us forgiving our ancestors. That's definitely an issue. So let's strengthen our ability to forgive our ancestors for the times and ways that they moved in lower vibration. Okay. To forgive them and for them to actually receive our forgiveness. And for them to, for us to receive their forgiveness for our judgment of them. Strengthen us for that. Okay. All right. And now let's look at future generations. And receiving forgiveness from future generations for how we fed into fear-based state for future generations. Clearing that. Okay. All right. Okay. And that's forgiving them for the judgment that they've had towards us, or even will have towards us, for how we've contributed to the world that they will inherit. So we want to address that. Okay. All right. And want to strengthen our ability to find creative ways to bring life-affirming solutions that support the highest and best good of us all. Okay. All right. For that, want to actually stimulate the higher centers within our brains. Okay. All right. And let's activate our how can I put this? The awareness of infinite possibilities. Activate within us the awareness of infinite possibilities of good. And for us to be able to even have a childlike sense of wonderment of the magnificent ways in which transformation can actually take place that we might not have ever considered before. To be able to have a mature attitude with a childlike sense of wonderment about what new and profound ways we might see the light of God's love show up in the world. And how we might find creative ways to allow that light to shine in and through us in the world. Mm. And have an openness for showing up as the light in the moments that it would help to bring well-being and balance into a situation. Okay, thank you, God. Okay, all right. We'll be shutting this down soon, but want to do a couple other things before we do. All right. Now, I earlier kind of liken this to being like a game, like we're playing a game like at a more advanced level, a higher level of a game, where the challenges become more challenging. Okay. And to be able to take the challenges as challenges that are actually working together for our good, and to be able to see that, to see the challenges that are around us in terms of those things that are seeking to distract us away from the beautiful truth that there is only good, no matter what things seem like. And we're truly operating from an enlightened place when we get to a point where all that we see is light and love and well-being, even while looking directly at what it is that used to stress us all the way out. But to be able to actually perceive from a higher vantage point. And then to be able to operate in the earth realm in practical ways that are actually driven by a more enlightened vantage point. Okay. Okay. Now, let's address any sense of resentment or bitterness that we might have about the world that we live in. The part of us that would have us rage against the machine, so to speak. The part of us that would have us wanting to stick it to the man, so to speak. All right. And instead of focusing on undermining the system, just bypassing all of that by activating a whole new system that is rooted in something that is much, much, much more favorable and much, much more enlightened and supports the highest and best good of us all. Okay. Yeah. To be able to see that, to be able to expect it, to be able to imagine it, and to be empowered to transform that imagination into a reality. Thank you, God. All right, let's go ahead and close this. Thank you so much for the opportunity to be able to participate in this healing. On behalf of all of us today, we are here in this world, in this time and space called now, as beings of love, beings of light, beings of healing, who are rising in our effectiveness and efficiency as souls who are mastering life in a body, spiritual beings embodied in humanness. And I thank you so much. I give great thanks for the healing that's gone forth today. I give great thanks for the clarifying of our spiritual vision. I give great thanks for empowering us and strengthening us and emboldening us to hold firm our strong resolve to operate in consciousness that supports our decision to continually elevate our vibration and to be a light in the world and to be able to fully activate the spiritual master within us that is ever seeking to fully express itself while we're in the earth realm. And I give great thanks for the reality of this truth and affirm it is done, it is done, it is done. All right, beloved. As always, it's been my pleasure being with you today. We'll be back. Not sure exactly how we'll be back next week. We might be broadcasting live from the Omega Institute in Rhinebeck, New York. But I look forward to being with you again. And if you're not already subscribed to the Matrix Healing channel, I certainly encourage you to do so. You know, if you feel like loving on yourself in that way. Because everything that we do on this channel is about promoting healing, about promoting love, about promoting unity, about promoting well-being, about helping us to transcend this matrix and to rise, rise, rise by elevating our vibration as we continually endeavor to enter into the sustainable state of supreme satisfaction. Until we meet again, peace and love, folks, and I'll catch you next time.